little too hot there. I have a yin practice for you. It's really thematically, I planned it around the spring equinox and new moon energies. So we're going to be working with the liver and gallbladder meridians. If you're familiar, these organs are responsible for your filtration, your detoxification, storing bile, excreting cellular waste, all that good stuff. Yummy. So essentially, we're starting our spring cleaning journey from the inside out. You don't have to worry about the house, the garage, the car yet. Worry about you. All right, so go ahead and find a comfortable seated position. Let your eyes close, only if that feels okay. Otherwise, just keep a soft gaze down the tip of your nose, maybe a few feet ahead of you. And as you arrive, just notice your breath. Notice the energy you're bringing with you into your yin practice, whether it's feeling scattered or restless or anxious, or maybe it's easy to settle right in. That's okay too. Meeting yourself where you're at and reminding yourself that there's no incorrect way to be here. You can't mess this up, I promise. Now, without manipulating or changing your breath in any way, just watching it flow in and out through your nostrils. Perhaps letting out a couple open mouth sighs if you're feeling a little restless. Beginning from this grounded, seated meditation. As you exhale, use that breath to really root down through your hips into your mat or whatever you're practicing on. And as you inhale, draw your spine, the crown of your head, toward the ceiling. Almost creating this hovering, sort of in-between sensation. Rooting down through the hips to rise up through the crown of your head. Your breath just sort of pushing and pulling. Give yourself a few more moments here. And as you continue to root down into your hips, if it resonates, visualize yourself planting seeds of intention. Something that you want to carry with you out of your practice, off the mat, into your life. Or maybe it's something that you want to let go of. That first thing that pops into your mind, there it is. Don't overthink it. Just let it go. And softening the space between your brows, relaxing your jaw. And let your shoulders slide down your back, away from your ears. And start to deepen your breath a little bit. Option to keep the eyes closed here. You can start to flutter them open as well. We're going to start to rock into some movement simply by starting by circling your torso. Either clockwise or counterclockwise, doesn't matter. You'll switch it out in a moment anyway. So gluing down through those hip points, keeping the lower body as an anchor exactly where it is. Creating circles, circulating energy in the body. You can almost visualize pulling up energy from the earth from your seat. Switch out that direction if you haven't already. Just noticing what's showing up, how that's feeling in the body, where your mind wanders off to. Again, no wrong answers, no wrong way to be here. You cannot mess this up, I promise. All right. We're gonna start to move into our first posture, Baddha Konasana, bound angle or butterfly pose. So go ahead, bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees fall wide. So your choice, whether you pull the heels in closer to your groin, perhaps feel that a little more in your hip flexors, or you can extend them a little further out, creating sort of a diamond shape in your legs. I find that I feel that more in my hamstrings and my back. So it's gonna look different in all of our bodies, right? No two skeletons are exactly the same. Therefore, alignment is subjective. So if you need some support under the knees, you can stack blocks, any type of support. A book will work, a rolled up towel will work. We don't need all these fancy tools, right? So once you find yourself rooting down again through your hips, tall spine, maybe you find that this is more than enough sensation. And if you're looking for a little more here, you can start to gently walk yourself forward. Now keep your spine tall, lead with your heart and chest. Now you might walk yourself forward just the slightest amount before feeling that gentle tension, perhaps in the outer edge of your hips. Now, if you are really not feeling it yet, continue to walk the hands out, or perhaps even sliding them underneath the feet to curl and pull yourself in. Now you'll really feel that in the back body. So let yourself stay and soften here a few moments. I won't keep you here too long. We just want to stay long enough to sort of feel that edge and allow it to soften. And then of course another edge shows up. And we just keep softening. We just keep peeling back layers of tension. So I'm noticing that I would like to walk my hands out further, really let my back sort of open and breathe. It's never too late to make an adjustment, a shift. And it doesn't have to be anything that I say, right? So if your body is choosing to explore this posture, this shape in a different way, a different variation, listen to your body, always. Letting your exhales root you down through your hips. Inhales, creating space. Just give yourself 2 or 3 more deep breaths. My stomach is growling so loud. Sorry if you can hear that. Just one more breath. Start to press all the air back out of your lungs, and then use your next inhale to start walking yourself back up. Give yourself a moment coming back through seated. Use your hands to gently guide the knees back together, grounding the soles of the feet. So from here, we're going to extend the legs out as wide as feels comfortable, okay? So let yourself set that up. Also, see if it's possible to scooch forward maybe just about a millimeter or so, just enough so that you remove any of that extra flesh from the sitting bones, and then this creates this sort of forward pelvic tilt. So keeping a nice tall spine, drawing your shoulders down your back away from your ears, just noticing sort of how that feels. This might be more than enough to stay exactly as you are. Letting the inseams of your legs open and breathe a little. Again, we are looking for those gallbladder, liver meridians along the outer edges of the body. Visualizing that cleansing, that filtration happening in a subtle way. So from here, we're gonna reach into some side bends. Start to pull, lean it back just a little bit, and then pull this right heel in toward the inseam of your left thigh. Tall spine. Place your left hand to the top of your right knee, right thigh, and then place your right hand right behind the crown of your head. And taking a deep breath in through your nose. Find some length in the spine. Let's set this up. Exhaling, grounding down through that right hip point. Setting up that foundation. Next, inhale, gently start to apply a little bit of pressure with your left hand, almost like an anchor, so that you can breathe into that right elbow extending toward the ceiling. And that left palm there, just sort of counter pressure, just anchoring the body. Encouraging that rotation in the heart and chest. Sorry if you can hear my dogs. Anyway, let yourself stay a few deep breaths. Noticing that lower right area of your back sort of opening. Let yourself ease away, back off if there's any pain. We don't want to aggravate any lower back compression, especially if you know you have some compressed discs or lumbar spine pain. And just opening that up for a couple more breaths. The dogs are still going nuts. We don't have to wait for our external environment to be perfect to get a good practice in, right? Those of us with kids, with pets, we kind of just gotta make it work with the time that we have, and that's okay. And gently exhaling, starting to make your way back out of this posture. Gently unwinding, releasing. Come back through center. And then gently re-extending that right leg out and the left leg pulling in. So same thing here, give yourself a moment, just set it up. Feel that rooted sensation down through your hips. And start to twist the upper body. Place your right hand on the top of your left knee, left thigh, left hand behind the crown of your head. Take a deep breath in through your nose, find some length. Exhale, really grounding down, rooting into the left hip point. Setting this up so that on our next inhale, we gently apply that pressure to the right palm and lift through the left side chest, left elbow. This is not supposed to be comfortable, okay? We're definitely getting into some edgy places here. So using that wisdom that's coming from your body, being able to discern whether the discomfort is a physically painful sensation that needs to be adjusted versus just, discomfort that is required for growth, for change, for creating new space. Exhales are going to root you down. Inhales are going to find and create space. And keep applying this gentle pressure to that left kneecap, left thigh. Twisting your heart and chest open. Sending your breath into those little spaces between your ribs. Stretching the intercostals. Giving it a few more breaths. Start to invite some softness. Gently retracing your footsteps right back out the same way you came in. So from here, using your hands to help re-extend that left leg, finding that wide-legged seat once again. Adjust the sitting bones if you lost that forward tilt in the pelvis. Just let yourself stay here. Might be more than enough sensation, enough opening. If you're looking for a little more, take a deep breath in through the nose. And as you exhale, start to walk the hands out. Keep your spine tall. Keep the crown of your head lengthened toward the ceiling. And just start to melt your heart and chest toward the ground. Now being very mindful not to overstretch, not to push or pull yourself any further than you need to be. It's funny when people say, oh, I'm not flexible enough for yoga, when sometimes being flexible is actually not a good thing in yoga. For example, if you have hypermobility, sometimes we can tend to lock out the joints, the knees, the elbows, and this can create a lot of tension, a lot of issues. So if you're not flexible, that's a really good place to be, I promise. Sounds backwards, but it's true. And just continuing to let yourself relax here. Breathing through any edginess that's showing up. Notice if any tension has shifted its way up to the muscles in your face, your jaw, your shoulders, your neck. And just simply invite that tension to escape with your next exhale. Again, this is not meant to be comfortable. We're meant to be feeling a little bit of edginess in these postures. So just be gentle with yourself. Notice the way that you're speaking to yourself in your mind. And just giving yourself a few more breaths and letting things soften. Peeling back one layer of tension at a time. Never too late to make an adjustment, to dial it back. Starting to press that air back out of your lungs if you're ready to come out of this posture. And then using that next inhale to slowly walk yourself back up. Slowly pulling the knees, the feet back in close. Now give yourself a moment here. Ground your hands somewhere behind your hips. Feet are wider than hip width distance apart. And just gently start to let your knees fall over to the right side. Just as far down as that range of motion will allow you. So if you only come to here, that's fine. If you come all the way down, that's fine too. No one way is better or more advanced than another. All our bodies are different on a skeletal level. So our range of motion is naturally going to look different. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing or how you think it should look. Let go of that attachment. And just be here with your body. Inhale back through center. Exhale off to the side. Just one or two more times. Inviting any of the tension in the hips to release. All right, walking it back forward. Extend your legs out in front of you. Once again, scooch it forward, maybe just a millimeter or so. Get that forward tilt in your pelvis. All right, we're gonna come into shoelace pose. Start to bend your right knee over your left thigh. And so again, that range of motion, notice if this is more than enough sensation, you might stay right here and that's okay. If it feels right, sliding that right heel back towards your left hip point, just enough so that that right knee can sort of stack right on top of the left. Again, it's okay if this is where you are. It's not incorrect. I promise you cannot mess this up. You gotta believe me. So, again, might be more than enough here. If you're looking for a little more sensation, lean to the left just enough to slide that left heel in toward the right hip point. Now we've got these stacked knees and the heels are drawing in toward our hips. Go ahead and snuggle into your seat. Take a couple breaths. Noticing that sharp contrast between that external hip rotation and that big dragonfly wide-legged fold versus this internal rotation, this very compressed, stacked moment where we can pull all the energy back in. You can almost imagine a bent knee like a kinked hose, right? So permanently cutting off some of the flow of energy so that when you release it, this flow just courses through this freshly oxygenated prana. This life force energy can recirculate in different ways. Find some softness. Grounding your right hand toward the right side of your body. Inhale, sweep the left thumb up over your ears. And really root down through that left hip point. Again, not necessarily supposed to be comfortable. I'm looking for that big stretch in the left intercostals, that left side of my rib cage, all the way from that hip point that's grounded to my elbow. Just this big line of energy, opening up those detoxificating, I just made up a word, detoxifying, purifying meridians, liver, gallbladder, spring cleaning, baby. And as you exhale, gently bring yourself back up. And before switching sides, let's bow it down, only if that feels right. Let yourself curl in. Relax your jaw. Find some softness. Maybe that's unclenching something, or maybe that's removing an unkind thought toward yourself. And start to rise up using an inhale to help lift and lengthen. Roll to the left, extend that left leg out, and then use your hand to help guide the right. Give yourself a moment in this Dandasana staff pose, just seated with your legs extended straight out in front of you. I just want you to lean into that subtle sensation of that rebound. Maybe even drawing a comparison between the sides of the body, observing all the spaces you've just opened up. Checking back in with your breath, with the way you're speaking to yourself. And when you're ready, helping the left knee cross over. Maybe it stays up higher like this. Maybe you create that stacking moment. And lastly, maybe you sneak that right heel in as well. Remember, no one way is better or more advanced. Okay, so let yourself snuggle in, sink into your hips. Make any little adjustments that you need. Just notice those outer edges of the legs opening. Start to ground your left fingertips, your left palm down toward the mat. As you take a deep breath in through your nose, sweeping the right thumb up toward the ceiling. Really rooting down through the right hip point as you open your heart and chest, gazing up toward the ceiling. Notice how opening up one side creates a slight compression in the opposite side. And just notice those subtle energies sort of balancing each other out. Notice if you start to hold your breath or change it in any way. Try to soften any edges that show up. It's not supposed to feel comfortable. It's gonna get a little sticky, a little edgy. That's okay. And that right there, if you were wondering, is the difference between a yin class and a restorative class. Yin is always going to be a little bit edgier. 1 or 2 more breaths. And then when you're ready, inhaling back up through center. And before coming out, just once again, noticing if this is more than enough sensation staying right here, or maybe you're ready to lean the heart and chest forward. Keep the spine tall at first, and then let yourself round in. And in these moments of contraction, where everything is sort of pulled in very closely, very tight knitted, just visualize your energy coming back into your body. All that stuff you've been leaking out, all that you've given away, reclaiming some of that, pulling that energy back into you. No wrong answers, no wrong way to be here. And continuing to visualize that spring cleaning energy if that resonates with you, or maybe planting seeds, a bit of both. And we can get rid of this sort of energetic clutter that's been stagnant in our bodies, and we can make space for new growth. And start to empty your lungs back out, using your next breath in to sort of walk you back up through center. Gently leaning, removing the legs from out underneath you, extend them straight out in front of you. Again, just a moment in that Dandasana staff pose. Gently draw your chin toward your chest. Pull your shoulders back. And see if you can bring some gentle engagement to your pelvic floor right here. And just pulling up those muscles, almost like you're trying to control the urge to go to the bathroom. And this helps continue pulling that energy up. These are bandhas, energy locks. The Mula Bandha at the base of your spine. And the Halandara Bandha at the base of your skull. And preventing any of that energy from leaking back outward. One more breath. Drawing the navel toward the spine. And gently releasing, exhale. So from here, we're gonna be headed right onto our backs. So go ahead. I do recommend having blocks or a stack of books, a pillow, a bolster, a foam roller, anything that could be used to sort of support underneath your hips. So go ahead and let yourself lean it back. Let yourself get comfortable. And then pressing into the soles of your feet, squeezing your glutes, lifting up. And then gently resting the hips onto that support that you have. Coming into this supported bridge. Now you can keep the soles of the feet grounded with your knees bent, or you can start to walk the feet out. This is going to be a really great way to sort of let those front edges of your hip flexors, your psoas, sort of just open and breathe. And that support underneath your hips sort of helping decompress the lower back. Notice if you need a little more height, a little less height. Never too late to make an adjustment, to make a change. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Watching what happens in the body when you allow your hips to be the highest point. How this shifts and changes the flow of energy in your body. Perhaps noticing more of a rested state. Your parasympathetic nervous system activating as you slow everything down. So either just keeping that extension through the legs. One more option that I'd love to give you right now is extending your legs up toward the ceiling, maybe one at a time if you're feeling a little unsure, and then trying both. And again, just sort of reversing the flow of energy that your body is used to, giving things a chance to settle a little bit differently. You can wiggle your toes, circle your ankles. This by no means has to be completely still. You can find some movement, some fluidity. Maybe even seeing how that wide-legged straddle feels being held by gravity. Let yourself get a little playful here. Let yourself just explore this movement, allowing yourself to be held, to sort of float here for a few more breaths. What goes up must come back down. Let your body be playful. We see little kids doing stuff like this all the time, right? And they don't even think about it. So just re-invite some of that non-judgmental, curious energy that you see in our little humans. The best teachers there are. And then when you're ready to come out, gently grounding back through the soles of your feet, pressing the mat away from you as you lift the hips, remove that prop off to the side. And go ahead and extend your body, lying flat on your back. Take up space. Once again, lean into that rebound sensation. Noticing things settle in a new place in a new way. And take a big full body stretch. Reach your arms up over your head. Stretching through your kneecaps. And grabbing a hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Keeping your shoulders and your hips grounded. Start to stretch your body over toward the right side. So right away you feel that big side body stretch on the left side. And then if it feels okay, go ahead and cross your left ankle over your right ankle. Now you might notice holding on to the wrist is a little uncomfortable. You can release, relax that grip to opposite elbow if that feels a little more restorative, restful. Just let your head and neck rest toward your right bicep. Every inhale, finding a new space between your ribs, the left side of your body. The outer edge of your left leg. Re-inviting that new moon energy where you can let all this stuff go, all this stuff that you don't need anymore. Whether that's an unkind thought, a not so great habit, anything that you know you're ready to part ways with. Just let that come up to the surface and exhale it away. And just a few more breaths here. Every exhale, finding something else to let go of. And start to gently unwind yourself, reaching back up through center, uncrossing the ankles. Give yourself a moment between sides, no agenda. Just be here with your breath. Don't worry about what's next. Usually when I say that, it's because I forgot what's next. That's our little secret. When you're ready, go ahead and grab a hold of your right wrist with the left hand and start to stretch your body over toward that left side. Big stretch in the right side body. Shoulders and hips stay grounded. And if it feels okay, just crossing the right ankle over the left. Releasing, relaxing that grip to your elbows. Find some softness as you sink back in. Diving into your breath. Noticing where your mind habitually wanders off to when the body slows down. There go them damn dogs again. I swear. Just give yourself a few more breaths. It's a practice, not a perfect, right? If we waited for external circumstance to be perfect before we practiced, we would never practice. Meet yourself where you're at in all the chaos, all the flaws. Forget about it looking a certain way. Just be here. And start to gently unwind yourself. Uncrossing the right ankle. We just have one more posture here. Make sure that you have some type of support that you can place underneath your shoulders or your upper back, and then perhaps another little something for behind your head. We're leaning right back into a supported fish pose from here. So let yourself figure it out, set yourself up. Might take a few little snuggles, adjustments to get it in that right spot. And then if it feels okay, letting the knees fall wide again, bringing the soles of the feet together. And if for any reason that just feels a little too intense, I invite you just extend your legs out in front of you. Noticing how that feels. Your heart becoming the highest point in your body. Letting things soften. Noticing any feelings of vulnerability showing up here. This is a very vulnerable shape for your body to be in. So maybe even just inviting some trust. Reminding yourself you're in a safe place to explore your body, your breath. Reminding yourself that whatever shows up is okay. Noticing any tension between the shoulder blades starting to shift and release. Now we only have one more place to go from here, and that is our final rest. So I invite you to stay in that supported fish for as long as feels right. I know sometimes it takes a second to set it up, so it feels silly to just come right back out. Let yourself stay. Don't even worry about it. But when you're ready, just letting the whole back body relax, release onto your mat. Coming to a place where you can expel zero muscular effort. And scanning your awareness from the bottoms of your feet to the tips of your toes, the tops of your feet, your ankles, your shins, your calves, and just slowly drawing this awareness, this focus up the body, your knees, your thighs, your hips. Maybe even gently engaging that pelvic floor just to aid that energy moving up the body through your low belly, pulling your navel toward your spine, Continuing to move and shift this energy up the belly, the rib cage, the tips of your fingers, the palms of your hands, the backs of your hands, your wrists, forearms, and elbows, your biceps, triceps, and shoulders, the armpits, the chest, the collarbones, the heart center. Noticing this energy in the throat, perhaps a swallow. And then gently letting your awareness rest right between your eyebrows. So if you don't necessarily feel the subtle energy shifts, just know that where your attention goes, where your focus goes, energy naturally will flow. So just foster that trust in your body, that it's working, even if you don't necessarily feel it the way you think you should be. Letting go of that attachment. Resting right between the eyebrows. And please stay in this Shavasana, this corpse pose, for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even longer if that feels right. Just resting your energy between the brows. Letting all that space you created really settle into the body. Again, staying as long as you can. When you are ready to come out, wiggling your fingers, toes, your wrists and ankles. Rolling your head and neck from side to side. And then drawing the knees into the chest, really pressing your lower back into the mat, maybe even drawing some circles with your knees, rolling out your back. Eventually making your way onto your side body, curled up in fetal pose. Really letting this fetal posture symbolize sort of the rebirth of spring. Leaning into that, energizing, restoring energy, and bringing that with you off your mat into your life. Using your hands to help guide you through seated whenever you are ready. And just give yourself a moment through seated. Again, observing the shifts, the changes, the new spaces you made. I'd love to close our practice by sharing an Om together. This vibration represents the creative force of the cosmos and sends this ripple of healing, energizing vibration through the body. Taking a deep breath in through your nose Feel your belly, your lungs, your chest. Thank you so much for sharing this yin practice with me. It's seriously such an honor. I love you. Be good.